Good morning or good afternoon. Today I am going to be discussing a little bit about slope, y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to go ahead and get on my good notes, and I'm going to be discussing a little bit about slope, a little bit about ordered pairs, and a little bit about really working with the Desmos and making sure that you understand every concept that is covered under slope. So we're going to start off with a basic line. So if you look at that line, it does have an x-intercept and a y-intercept, and I am going to give you this line as being a simple form of something to the degree of y equals mx plus b, where this is going to be some type of linear equation. If you look at this line, it is going to be a slope, a positive slope, and we are going to dive a little deep into the characteristics of each of these lines. If we know that it's going to go up, like it's going up a mountain, it's going to be a positive slope. So we already know that this slope is going to be positive because it is going up a mountain. If we look at these two pairs, we have a pair right here, an ordered pair, an x and y. So we're going to circle it in black, and we are going to circle it in black. So we're dealing with two ordered pairs. We have your x as being your horizontal axis and your y being your vertical. Another name for this is called, you're dealing with a domain, which is another word of x, and then of course you're dealing with a range, which is another word for some type of word for y. So we're dealing with the domain, we're dealing with the range. Now let's talk a little bit about characteristics of this line. So I'm going to go ahead and get a blue color, and I'm going to go ahead and look at this point right here that I circled that crosses the x-axis. So the ordered pair, looking at this, we do have an ordered pair of x being 4. So we're going to write down 4, comma, 0, because of course it passes the y-axis there. That right there is called your x-intercept. So what is the x-intercept? It is where the line or the linear line, any type of figure, whether it being a quadratic, a u, or any type of exponential, any type of equation, it passes the x-axis. That's called your x-intercept. Another word for the x-intercept is also called your 0. So you can say, okay, my 0 is 4, or my x-intercept is 4, 0. Then we're dealing with another ordered pair. If you look at this, it does cross my y-axis at, if we look at the x is 0, so I'm going to write this in blue, 0, negative 3. And as you can see, this is called my y-intercept. So looking at this, this is called right here my y-intercept. Why is it called y-intercept? Because it's the point where it crosses the y-axis. So we have our y-intercept as being 0, negative 3. And of course, as we get into it, we're going to actually look at it at the Desmos, and we are going to be looking at, okay, Desmos is going to do everything for us, which is our calculator. And then of course, looking at 4, 0, this is your x-intercept. So we have a lot of qualities of this slope. We have a lot of qualities of this line. But the basic is our understanding what our x-intercepts are and understanding what our y-intercept is. And really pretty much knowing that this is a y equals mx plus b format and understanding that concept. So if I click out of here, I'm going to go into my whiteboard and I'm going to discuss a little bit about slope. If you look at the slope, we are going to change it to green. And if you look at this slope right here, we are going to go up a mountain. So anytime you are going up a mountain, it's going to be positive. So anytime the slope, let's say you're skiing up a mountain, it's always going to be positive going up. Then you're going to come down the mountain. And if you come down the mountain, this is going to be a negative slope. So anytime that you go up, you're going to be positive. Whenever you come down, it is going to be negative. Now, when you're going straight across, which is straight across, that is a zero slope. So what does that mean? It has no slope whatsoever. And in mathematics, we have when you drop down and there's no possibility of just going up and down in an instant, this is called an undefined slope. So review really quick on slope. When you're going up a mountain, this is going to be a positive slope. When you're going down a mountain, it's going to be a negative slope. When you have a flat surface like the floor, that's going to be zero slope because there is no slope whatsoever. And if you're going to the side of the mountain and you're falling, you're going to go straight down, straight up. There's no possibility you just go into the air and just keep on going straight up without using an elevator. That's called an undefined slope. So those are the characteristics of slope. So as we discussed in our Desmos beginning, this is the y slope intercept form, which is a y equals mx plus b. We discussed a little bit that the m is always our slope, so the number next to the x is always your slope if it is in this format. And of course, if we look at that, the b is always your y-intercept. So we have your y-intercept being the b. And then we have your slope, which another word for slope is, of course, our rate of change. So the star, our end of course star in Texas, really loves to use the word slope, interchange with slope and rate of change. Loves to use the y-intercept, loves to use the x-intercept also, and loves to use our zero term. So if we go down, and I'm going to change colors a little bit, and we're going to look at these two equations. We have it in y equals mx plus b. So right here, just by looking at this, the slope or rate of change is 3. And once again, 3 is your slope. That is your steepness. So we are looking at this being a positive slope because it doesn't have a negative. That means our line will be going up like this. So this is called a positive slope. Now we look at this format and we are looking at y equals negative 4x plus 6. We know our slope here is a negative slope. And we have the slope or rate of change is equal to negative 4. So we have our rate of change or slope, and we know this line is going to be going down. So that is your negative slope. Of course, our y-intercept, if you look at it in green, our y-intercept on this equation is a 6. And then, of course, our y-intercept here in this equation, which is y equals mx plus b, is a negative 4. So that is pretty much just a brief synopsis of what slope is. What we're going to be doing next is pretty much looking at slope and learning how to figure out what the slope is in this y equals mx plus b using the Desmos Calculator, so we can learn how to do the Desmos. So I'm going to go ahead and click out of here, and I'm going to go to my home screen, and I am going to go to finding 2 points of a slope. So I'm going to start off with this. So before we had the slope formula, where we used to find slope by going y2 minus y1 equals x2 minus x1, which equates our slope. So that right there would give us our slope. But why do we need to find slope if we let Desmos do the work for us? So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to grab the Desmos. So I love to go to my Google right here. And I love to search to get our Desmos. All I have to do is go into the Google and go Desmos Calculator Star version if you are in the state of Texas, or Desmos aligned to whatever your state test is. So I'm going to click on it and I go to the Desmos Graphing Calculator Texas version and I pull it up, and that is my Desmos Calculator. Once again, one of my favorite sayings is we let Desmos do the work. We got to let Desmos do all the heavy lifting for us. So then that way, if we understand the concept, we understand the terms, we can finish our curriculum in under a couple of weeks with Algebra 1, with knowing the concept of what y-intercepts are, what x-intercepts are, what zeros are, what slope is, and just everything along that line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this calculator because I love to work side by side with the calculator, and I like to work side by side by my notes. So I'm given a point here. I'm giving actually 2 points. And before we had Desmos, we were able to input these points and we were able to put it into the slope formula, but no longer do we need the slope formula. Desmos will actually do everything for us. So if I look at these points, just by looking at this, and I'm going to get a color of green. Oh, I'm going to get a color of blue because I like blue. So one is an X and one is a Y, and one is an X and one is a Y. So we have our X comma Y and our Y, X comma Y. We have 2 points. That's all we need. We know it's linear. We know this line is going to be linear. So what I would do is I would construct a table that has an X comma Y, and of course we have a pair of 3 comma 6. I'm just going to put in 3 comma 6, and then I have another pair of 6 comma 12, which is our table right there. So all I'm going to do is get on my Desmos calculator, and everyone see this plus sign right here, and you can see my arrow right here. I have my table. I want to see this arrow right here, so I'm going to click on the plus sign, and I'm going to go to my table. Don't put the f of x expression because that is not one we want to work with right now. We actually want to work with our table. So I'm going to go ahead and click our table, and all you do is input the values. You have 3 comma 6, and how do you input that? All I do is put 3 in this value right here. I'm going to put 3 comma 6, which is your y value, which is your order pair right here, 3 comma 6. Then you have our 6 comma 12. And what do I say about Desmos does everything for us? Well, if you see the side, you see that Desmos is already plotting our 2 points. So how do I get the y equals mx plus b? I look at this nice little leaf. Some call it a leaf, some call it little dots. It says add regression. I'm going to go ahead and put the regression. And all of a sudden I get my equation. So it gives it to you right here. If you look at my dots right here, it gives me the equation as y equals 2x plus 0. So what I would do is I would write that down. And that equation, what type of work did you do? Practically nothing, because Desmos did all the heavy lifting for us. They put us in y equals mx plus b. So once again, by looking at that, all I'm going to do is get my slope. It's already in y equals mx plus b. I know my slope is 2. So that is my slope. So if I want to find, Mr. Ocaña, how do you find y-intercept? Well, Desmos already did it for us. We don't have to figure anything out. All we have to see is where Desmos crosses the y-axis. So we're here, Desmos. I just crosses one time on the y-axis right here, and it gives you your point. You just hover over it. We know our y-intercept is 0, 0. If I ask you what is my x-intercept, x-intercept also crosses at x, it crosses at 0, 0. So you have your y-intercept as being 0, 0, and you have your x-intercept also being 0, 0. But that is also called a 0. So we have your x-intercept or 0 is called 0, 0. So automatically, just by understanding that you can put it in this format, Desmos pops out the answer and how much work did it do. How much work did you do? Practically nothing. You just have to understand what is x-intercept, what is y-intercept, what is slope, and what is a y equals mx plus b. So let's try another one. We have question number 2. We want to find slope of 9, 3 and 6, negative 9. Well, no more do I have to do the slope formula. All I have to do is understand that one is an x and one is a y. One is an x, one is a y. Given that these two are linear, all I'm going to do is input it on Desmos. Now I'm going to just skip the table and I'm going to go directly to my Desmos here. And I'm going to go to my table feature right here. And I'm going to go ahead and input right here 9, comma 3. And a little bit too many 3's. 1, 3. And then the next one is 6, comma 9. I'm going to go ahead and input it 6, comma, and then I'm going to click here, comma 9. So I have my two ordered pairs automatically without us doing anything. Desmos has already graphed it for us. We have our ordered pair of 9, comma 3 in table format and 6, comma 9 in table format. Now click the little leaf and Desmos does it for us. So automatically it gives us y equals to negative 2x plus 21. Gives it to us in y equals mx plus b. So just by looking at this linear regression, I get my equation right here. I got to make sure that it's in linear regression. And automatically, I already know my slope. So I want to know what slope is. All I have to do is figure out that that is negative 2. So it gives me a negative 2 slope. Let's say I want to find y-intercept. Well, I can find that right away now. So y-intercept, if you find the y-intercept, where does this line cross the y-axis? I try to click on it and it will stay the point. So my y-intercept is 0, comma 21, or just 21, it being your y-intercept. Now let's say I want to find x-intercept. Well, where does this line cross the y-axis? So I'm going to look for it and it stays right there. So even dealing with the decimal, we know the x-intercept equals to 10.5, comma 0. And right there, it's where my line crosses my x-intercept. So that is my answer. Remember that you can also write this as x-intercept is also called a 0. Don't forget. So you can put right there, it is called a 0. And it's okay to write, instead of writing 10.5, it's okay to write, instead of writing 10.5 comma 0, I can just write 10.5 as it being my 0. So you just got to distinguish what an x-intercept is and what a y-intercept is. So number 3, number 4, they're all positive. So let's get to a negative here. We're going to keep on going down and we're going to go to a negative. Now we're going to throw in a negative. So looking at those numbers, 3 comma negative 6 and 6 comma 12. So the only thing that I will need to distinguish at this is an x comma y, and this is an x comma y. You don't have to put 1, 2, but if you want to, there's nothing wrong with putting that. You got to understand that in alphabetical order, a good way to remember ordered pairs is alphabetical order. So you have your x comma y, x comma y. So then I'm going to do the next one. I want to figure out what the slope is for that automatically. Just put it in Desmos. Let the Desmos do the work for you. So we're going to go to the plus sign right here. We're going to go to the table format. We do have two ordered pairs. So all we're going to do is going to click 3, comma, and then your y value is negative 6. So I'm going to put negative 6. And then the next one, I'm going to click here and I'm going to go 6, comma 12. So not only can I have one negative, I can have two negatives, I can have three negatives, I can have all four negatives. And all you have to do is input 2 points of a linear equation, linear points, and you can get your slope-intercept form right away. So just by looking at the leaf, I'm going to click on the leaf right here. I'm going to delete it, but I'm going to go ahead and input the table right away. So it is 3, comma, negative 6. And then I'm going to put 6, comma, 12. I'm going to add my regression. It should be forming our straight line. And automatically right there, I can see that I'm going to get the equation. So the equation, and I'm going to write it down as y equals to 6x minus 24. Now I can find my rate of change or my slope. Remember, rate of change and slope are the same thing. Slope and rate of change are similar and the same. So we look at slope, we have rate of change here. Our slope and our rate of change is 6. So automatically I found my slope, I found my rate of change just by doing that. If I want to find my y-intercept, I'm going to look at my y-intercept and I'm going to come to the table and I'm going to go see where it crosses my y-axis. I have to find it and I'm going to go down and there is my y-intercept. I click on it, it should stay there. It is 0, negative 24. So my y-intercept is 0, negative 4. So I'm going to take this off and I'm going to say, well, my y-intercept equals 0, negative 24. And if I want to check my work, all I have to do is look at what my y-intercept is right there. It is negative 24. So that tells me, hey, that is a correct answer. The other item that I do want to try is my x-intercept. So my x-intercept or 0, they're both the same terms, but they're just different minor differences. So I want to find my x-intercept. All I go is back to my Desmos, and I go to where it crosses my x-axis. I keep on going up, and you can see it there. I see where it crosses my x-axis. I might have to click a couple of times. The x-intercept or the 0 is 4, 0. So I already have my answer, and all I have to do is write it down. So my x-intercept is 4, 0, or I can just say my x-intercept or my 0 is 4. So it's just understanding the concept, understanding the y equals mx plus b. Let's do a couple more practices. Let's do one with a lot of negatives. So I want to go all the way down to something that has something like this with 2 negatives. So this one is not just going to be a clean one. It's going to be a little bit more complicated. All I have to know is how to do x, y, and x, y. That's all I have to know. Then I'm going to let the Desmos do the work, and I'm going to come up here, and on Desmos, I'm going to put the table, and I'm going to go ahead and get on my keyboard, and I'm going to let the Desmos do the work for us. So I'm going to go ahead and place it in 3, and then on the y value, I'm going to do negative 7. I'm putting my first order pair. On the second one, I'm going to put negative 5, and on my x value and my 9 on my third value. If you feel more comfortable doing the x and y table, you can go ahead and do the x, y table, but again, that is not necessary to find slope as long as you understand the concepts. After I put in those two ordered pairs, what I'm going to do is let's explore what it is. I'm going to push this little leaf right here. So I'm going to go right here with my pointer, and it's going to be the leaf. I'm going to add regression, and I get my point. I want to understand that this graph, you can enlarge it, you can zoom in. I want to know what my x-intercept is. All I have to do is hover over it, click on it a couple of times, and my x-intercept should pop up and it should stay bolded. If I go to my y-intercept, it also gives me my line right here. I want to take it off. I just click on it again. I want to find my y-intercept, and that is 0, negative 1. So automatically, I know my y-intercept, I know my x-intercept. If I want to find my slope, automatically by looking at y equals negative 2x minus 1, I already have it in y equals mx plus b. So if you look at that, our slope is negative 2. And I can check my y-intercept by it being negative 1. So the first step to figure out this problem is myself putting it down. Y equals to negative 2x minus 1. Change colors. I want to find my slope or my rate of change. And so my slope and rate of change is this value right here. So that is my slope or my rate of change. It's going to be negative 2. I look at my line and it is a negative line going down. It's going down a mountain. If I want to find my y-intercept, all I have to do is put down, I want to find what my y-intercept is. All I have to do is come over here, find out where it crosses the y-axis, click on it, and it gives me 0, negative 1. And last but not least, I do want to find my 0. or I can call it x-intercept. So I want to find out where this line crosses my x-axis, and I click on it right there, and I click this one off, and my x-intercept is going to be negative 0.5 comma 0. And if I want to label as a 0 being negative 0.5, then it's okay to do that. So automatically, just by doing the input, a problem that would have taken us at least 10 minutes to do, 8 minutes, 6 minutes to get all those features, to do the table, to do the equation, Desmos will do it for us. So I'm going to move right along to my last problem, which is this one, which is another negative and negative. So I'm going to get that one out. I just got to make sure that I understand that this is an x, this is a y, this is an x, and this is a y. If I feel more comfortable, I can label them as x1, y1, x2, y2. I can plug it into my slope formula to find my slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. But why would you plug it in if Desmos can do the work for us? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to the plus sign, and I'm going to go to the table, and I'm just going to input these into our table. So our first one is going to be negative 4. Then after that it is going to be 10. So I got my order pair here. It's already starting to graph right here. You see my first point. Even on the point, just by looking at the table, I don't know where my point is. It graphs it for you. All you have to do is input it. My second point is 9 comma negative 8. My x value is my 9. My y value is a negative 8. So I'm going to go ahead and put that. I'm going to put negative, or not negative. I made a mistake there. So I just go back and delete. And I'm going to put 9 comma negative 8. I click right here. And I'm going to go negative 8. So all of a sudden, looking at the Desmos, it grabs it for us already. So we have our 2 points, and there's 1 point, and there should be another point somewhere on the graph. So if I want to graph it, all I have to do is come over here, add my regression where my leaf is, and I add regression. I got my y equals negative 1.38462 x plus 4.46154. So I have my x-intercepts and my y-intercepts. I have my slope. But again, if I want to find my x-intercept, this time we are going to deal with Desmos, 3.22. But why do I have to worry if Desmos can do it for us? I want to find my y-intercept. My y-intercept, I take away my x-intercept, is 0 comma negative. It's going to be positive 4.46154. If I want to find my slope, I can get an estimate slope with the equation that's given. So all I would do is put the equation y equals to negative 1.38 x plus 4.461. And of course, I abbreviated, I didn't round, I didn't do any of that. I'm just showing it for concept purposes or for the teaching. So my slope, automatically, I know my slope is a negative slope, and it is negative 1.38. If you go to the calculator, it also gives you negative 1.38. Of course, it has some other numbers behind it, but I didn't even bother rounding. I'm just showing you how to find slope. If I find my y-intercept, all I have to do is click on here, and it gives me my y-intercept. So I'm going to write down y-intercept equals 0 comma 4.4615. Close parentheses. So that is my y-intercept. If I want to find x-intercept, which is also called my 0, all I'm going to have to do is come to the Desmos, come to the graph, place right there. I'm going to unclick the other one. So I'm going to unclick this one. I'm going to unclick that one, and I'm just going to find my x-intercept, which my x-intercept is 3 comma 2 2 2 2, and maybe more some 2's, comma 0. So I have my estimate as being 3.222, with just understanding that that is the one that we're doing. So looking at that, we learned a lot from this equation. Even a decimal, even a fraction, you can put in your fraction and you can get your decimal, you can get your line, you can get your x-intercept, y-intercept, and you can get your slope from this line. So I'm hoping that this gave you a crash course on how to find slope. Do not forget that when you do deal with slope, remember you're going up a hill, it is positive. When you're going down the hill, it is negative. When you're going straight across the floor, it is 0. And you fall off the cliff going up and down, that is an undefined slope. So that gave you a crash course onto slope. Again, once again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and have a great, great day.